Welcome back to another episode of the Partnernomics Show. Today I had the opportunity to chat with Byron Attridge. And Brian is a certified EOS implementer in Austin, Texas. And Byron, I've had a couple conversations with him and really enjoy him. I'm one of those people. I love talking to people that have lots of energy. I just feed on the energy around me, whether it's high or low. So I love being around high energy folks. But Byron has a lot of great experiences, not only as an EOS implementer and working with lots of different companies over the last 5+ years, but he's also been in the trenches himself, starting businesses and leading those companies. And like a lot of us that have done the entrepreneurial thing and running businesses, we've made a lot of mistakes. The first few times doing it, we learned the wrong ways to do it, and then hopefully throughout the trial and error part, we find a better way to do it. And so I posed quite a few what I think is interesting questions to Byron. Hopefully you see this as well. But definitely a lively conversation. Byron is definitely one of those guys I'd love to have back on the show. So hope you enjoy it. Check this out.
Welcome to the Partnernomics Show, where industry thought leaders discuss the hottest topics in partnerships, ecosystems, and innovation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Partnernomics Show. Great to be with you. And today we are joined by Mr. Byron Attridge. How you doing?
Very
Austin,
good. Very,
Texas, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The great and sovereign state of Texas. I think I was telling you as we were leading in, we're having an unseasonably cool day today, which is super fun, super pleasant.
Probably take all those that you can get, man. I know Texas all across. It's number one, it's a huge state, but number two, man, it's usually warm. If it's
It
late
gets
spring or
hot.
summer,
It gets
it is
hot.
hot. Awesome. So Byron is with EOS, an EOS certified implementer, and has done a lot of work with a lot of organizations. Byron and I had a chance to catch up, and I just love his passion, love his energy. Byron, you're one of those guys I feel like, man, I could talk to you for hours on end, but I promise I won't keep you that long today. But Byron, if you wouldn't mind, man, I'd love to just kind of turn the mic over to you and have you just share with the audience for a couple minutes. Who's Byron? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what have you done professionally, and then obviously now working with organizations as a certified implementer.
Well, so I can, just kind of give you a sort of arc overview of how I got here. I started my career in corporate, and after almost 10 years of corporate coming out of college, I got, I had a great experience. I worked for Coca-Cola and W.W. Granger, and it was a great experience. Don't get me wrong, but I got frustrated with it. I got frustrated with bureaucracy of the thing. And it really, at that age, I was full of piss and vinegar and thought I could do everything better than everybody else. And, you know, these huge organizations that were so unagile, and all that kind of stuff. So I started cutting a path toward entrepreneurship, went off to grad school, got an international MBA at Thunderbird, came out right in time for the dot-com boom, started building websites for people when nobody had them back because there was a day. Yeah. And then in 2003, after the bust, I decided that was my calling to launch my own, entrepreneurial business. And so I launched my first business in 2003. And though it was a great financial success, it took a super heavy toll on me. I mean, my life, my health, my marriage, all pretty well in shambles after 4.5 years of that. And my wife was super supportive until she wasn't. And she looked at me and said, "You're going to sell this effing thing." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." I knew she was right. It wasn't that I was against that. I knew she was right because it was really killing me. And so I sold it off, and we moved back down to Austin as we had planned to do. And I was going to take, 10 months off, a sabbatical. That lasted 3 months.
Got bored?
Well, the phone started ringing. It was like,
No.
"Hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this?" And so eventually one came across my desk that I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to do that." It was a cloud computing. It was a hosted desktop play that we were using a virtualization platform to do hosted desktops for small and medium-sized businesses. That one, had a meteoric rise to success, and then it turned out to be eventually an epic failure. I learned a lot from it, as you do from those things. But more importantly, in the wake of that, a friend and fellow entrepreneur here in Austin invited me to join him in orchestrating a turnaround of a 15-year-old stagnant services business that he had purchased. And I said, I'm flattered, but why me? I just ran one into the ground, and you know that. And he laughed and he said, well, in a word, values. I was like, okay, again, I'm flattered, but I, I don't understand. How are we going to turn this thing around? He goes, look, Byron, you got everything you need. You got mad skills, you got drive, you got the right attitude, and you got great values. The thing that you're missing is a framework. And he pushed over a copy of Traction. He goes, go read that, and then we'll talk. So I read it in 2 days. About 3 hours in is when the light bulb went off. And I realized that discipline that I had run from back earlier in my career, that was the path to freedom. And that was the big aha moment for me. Now, those big corporations kind of have discipline sort of solidifying concrete. So it's not very nimble or agile. The right kind of discipline still maintains agility and whatnot. But I threw the baby out with bathwater until then. And so once I realized what I was missing, then I went back to Bill and I said, if you'll have me, I want to do this. So we took that business from less than $2.5 million a year to over 10 million in 5 years.
That's some steep
And
growth.
yeah, and quintupled the profitability. And those are great stats, but that wasn't the best part. The best part is I had a life.
Yeah.
Back in when I was doing my own businesses, the recipe, the cornerstone of the recipe for success was just work harder than everybody else. And so I was doing 60, 80, 90 hours a week and getting ground out in an ashtray like a cigarette butt, right? And with this and operating on EOS, I was working 50, 55 hours a week, and we were hitting it out of the park. And our employees loved us, the customers loved us. We were having fun, we were making tons of money. What's not to like?
Yeah, I was gonna
So
ask you to drill into that some more, because man, I have a similar experience, and that man, it was crazy. So Partnernomics, my business, is business number 6 for me, and
yeah,
it was a couple years after I was a big corporate America, Sprint, Fortune 50 at the time, and went to work there. But I was like, man, they gave me great opportunities. I loved the work. I loved the people. I was like, man, I need to be somewhere where I know I'm making a contribution, and I'm
yeah,
like, really feel that. And I didn't with 87,000 people around me, like, 87,000 employees. And, and so I had an opportunity to start a plantation shutter manufacturing company. If you can see behind me, I built those
there you
to
go.
the person that I sold the business to. But man, I worked full time at Sprint, and I ran this 12 employee company. And I would literally leave over lunchtime and go throw flyers, talk to builders, talk to homeowners as they're having their house built, burning that candle at both ends. One young child, a 2-year-old, and another one on the way. And you know it, right? You know that.
Oh yeah,
So many of the books that you read, there unfortunately are a lot of books out there and people that say, you just got to go grind harder, be ready to put in the 80, 90
yeah.
hours a week. And man, I'm telling you, there is a better way.
That's tough for me to see nowadays. I used to subscribe to that, and it's tough for me to see. I see these, B school professors and that are supposedly like these great entrepreneurs and this and that and the other, and they're trying to gear people up and prepare people for 100-hour weeks. And I'm like, no, dude, that is so wrong. That is wrong. There are going to be times. Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be times that you're going to have to put in a lot of hours and lose sleep and all that kind of stuff. But that needs to be really, really confined,
The
because
exception
it is
rather than the
not
rule,
sustainable.
right?
It's just not sustainable
No, it's just
for
not.
normal mortals.
It's not fun. And when people are working 70, 80 hours a week, they're not fun to be around, or at least the ones that, that I've been
I
around,
heard that. I
you
heard
know?
that with my bad ear. Yeah. And
Yep.
that's all work and no play makes Johnny mean
Yeah.
is quite honestly really what it comes down to. And then you're not a good leader.
There's really something to be said for, um, the importance of getting out, getting away. I was really, really bad at this for a long time. And finally my wife's like, bro, like once a quarter at a minimum, we're going somewhere. We're going to do something. We're getting out of Kansas City, getting out of the house, clear our minds. Man, I'm telling you, that's one of the best things I've ever done for my business. We're coming up on 11 years of Partnernomics. One of the best things I've ever done is just take the time, get away, clear your mind, and man, I come back, number one, re-energized, but number two, just some great ideas and clarity and just a new perspective on different ways to tackle new products, new relationships, hiring, whatever the case is. Man,
Oh, absolutely. And obviously in EOS Landia, as it were, we call those clarity breaks.
yeah,
And it's so necessary. If you stay in the weeds, you are not doing anybody a favor.
not at
You're
all.
not doing yourself or anybody around you. People think that just more is always the way, and it's kind of the American way. But the reality is less is more if you do the left right.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Byron, there's one of the things that you had mentioned in your LinkedIn profile that I absolutely loved is grow or die. And I can't let you off the podcast until we kind of talk about this, because we have a framework that we call the business growth framework. And it's, I say that, whenever you really boil it down, there's three ways that we grow our business. Organic, we're going to build it ourselves. Acquisition, get out the checkbook, we're going to buy it. And in our case, partner. And for us, partnering just means non-equity relationships, but generically speaking, right, it's those three ways. But it really starts with um, not only wanting to grow, right? Because if you talk to any CEO and say, "Do you want to grow?" Like, yeah, of course. Are you crazy? There's a whole nother thing, and I know you know this very well. There's a big difference between wanting to grow and being willing to make the investments and do the change management to the extent that
Yeah,
it's needed. Normally, it is to grow. I'd love to just kind of have you chat a little bit and just kind of speak to those CEOs and executives out there that are thinking, oh man, I wonder if I should jump into EOS or even outside of EOS. I mean, how should I think about my business and its growth and the succession and growth, just developing it.
absolutely. Well, I'm gonna throw a massive curveball at you that breaks hard. All right.
I'm ready.
My definition of grow is is
Not
probably
financial, not
is
financial
probably
only.
yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
love that.
my definition of grow is learning and growing. And
100%.
and really what it comes down to is that, and this is as true in life as it is in business. If you are not learning, you are dying. Okay. And that's really what it comes down to. And a predicate of that mentality, if you are in a growth mentality and you're a learning mentality, then a predicate of that is your organization will continue to expand its influence and its impact and its growth and from a numerical standpoint as well. But grow or die is, you've got to learn and you got to be open to learn. And people that are so arrogant that they think that they know everything, or they're too lazy to really lace up and learn, new technologies, new ways of doing things. I mean, AI is the most prominent example that kind of shoves itself in your face right now. If the people they're like, I don't know about that AI thing and whatever else, that is a giant mistake. Learn. It's just a tool.
Yeah, it is absolutely I say going to be a game changer. I think it already is. I mean,
It
it's already,
already is a game
it,
changer, and it's
yep.
going to continue to be so.
Yep. Man, I'd love to just kind of dig into that. This topic is very fresh in my mind. This morning, I did a workshop for a Vistage group, and actually, there was an EOS implementer that was there attending, and so we had a really fun conversation around.
Who was the EOSI that was in it?
Oh, you're gonna have to give me
Do
a
you
second
remember?
not right offhand. You're gonna have to give me a
Okay, don't
second.
worry.
I'll look up her
No,
name, but
no worries.
um, but we were kind of having the conversation around, what will AI do? And I started thinking about, I've been thinking about this for many, many months. How would AI even impact our business doing, whether it's the coaching side, the consulting side, the, whatever components. And it's like, man, is this thing more of a threat, or is it more of a friend and an opportunity and a new tool for me? So I know obviously you've been an EOS implementer for a number of years. What's your take on it?
Um, Absolutely a friend and a tool. Um, Back, so I'm dating myself, but back in the dot-com boom, it was a big tsunami that came through and radically changed the way we approached everything that we were doing in terms of interacting as businesses, informing each other of what we do and how we do it and all that kind of stuff. So everybody was scrambling to build websites to say, hey, look at me. And I think the tsunami for AI has at least the amplitude that the .com boom had, if not 10x more. And the
I agree.
reason being is that there is an unfortunate outcome that is going to happen in all of this. That is, it is going to disenfranchise a lot of jobs. It is going to obviate a lot of jobs. Um, what what is the implication behind that? The implication behind that is you're going to have to be in that growth mentality to learn new skill sets, either using AI, leveraging AI is probably most jobs are going to leverage AI in the future is really what it comes down to. And the people that can't do that won't be able to keep up very well. And then other jobs are just going to be completely obviated by the automation effects of AI. One example is I did an experiment with a client of mine who built an entire leadership team in AI. So he built avatars of the various different people on his leadership team. He had a head of marketing, he had a head of sales, he had a head of operations, and he had a head of finance and HR. And he
Was it
built
to personify that role? So he had a
each
picture of it?
he did one of them each. So each had its own built profile and whatever else, and then we conducted some meetings and had all those bots in the meeting
Okay, so
listening.
they were specifically like agents, or
They were
bots,
agents.
but they were AI agents that have those roles, have those responsibilities.
Yeah, it was really weird because processing the information and everything, you're having to read responses. So you ask a question of the team, and then you get all these responses from all these avatars, and then you have to go through those. And we used another bot to synthesize that and sort of organize it and whatever else. It was an incredibly bizarre, a little bit spooky, exercise that demonstrated to me that you know there's a lot that they can do. Now, what it cannot do is true human relationships. And so the partner piece that you represent, I don't think is ever going to go away in its entirety at all. And from my perspective in the kind of work that I do, I don't think, guys like me go away, because at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is uh, shape and change human behavior such that we can channel human energy within a team. And you'll have some teams that condense, but you're still got team. And you'll have other teams that may grow. You got more people because you need to do more things, and there are certain things that AI is not going to be able to do well. It's going to be incredibly smart and have massive amounts of information and be able to do pattern recognition deep into data and all that kind of stuff that we don't do particularly well as human beings. And it's going to be great for those things, but it cannot replace human interaction. It just can't. I mean, people can set up AI dates and all that kind of stuff to try to satisfy the need for human connection. At the end of the day, it will not be satisfying.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, you can never move away from the human elements, and I think it will even amplify
I think it
the
will too.
importance of the human
The,
component.
so the people that can do it well, that can do human well, and that really, and this is the one of the things I'm really a little bit scared for millennial and later generations, is that they were focused on singular performance, and they were taught to be. So not necessarily their fault, but they weren't taught as much team as we were in older generations, and that doesn't make us better. It just makes us, we have different skill sets. But as the AI thing progresses and evolves, they're going to have to learn that team piece in a big bad way, because the people that don't do team well are going to suffer.
Yeah, completely agree on that one. Byron, before we let you go, I want to hit you with a question that I used to ask years ago whenever we first started doing podcasting, but I'll ask you a slightly different way than I used to. But I'd love for you to speak to your 8-year-old self and then 80-year-old self. What would that conversation sound like?
Well, it might be an interesting conversation, to let's start with an 8-year-old. I think what I would say to my 8-year-old self is that, going back to the same concept of grow or die, because if you're not learning and growing as an individual, and even if you're the leader of a team, if your team or your organization is not learning or growing, it's dying. And that is the concept that I didn't really understand as a young boy, and it really started to land on me, about the time that I was turning 50. And so it took me a while. And I think that, any young person would benefit from understanding well that concept that you have to be learning
Man, I'd
all the
love to
time.
just drop in this one plug here and hopefully somebody picks it up. There's a book called The Four Disciplines of Executions by Chris
Yeah.
McChesney. I had the opportunity to speak with him several different times, and actually he came here to Kansas City and led a workshop. And in there, this really I loved this, where it said that in this case, he was talking about companies, but he said companies never tread water. They're either sinking or propelling. And
That's right.
that's, what you say. I mean, I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right.
Well, and part of that learning component is, and this is a concept that a lot of people have a hard time with, is that, the issues. So you have a vision of what you're trying to achieve, right? And it's way out there on the horizon, and it's this beautiful image of what you could be. Well, what's in between? What's in between you and there? A whole lot of issues. Okay. And so you have to fall in love with the path and the solving of issues which is growing and learning. Because when you pull up in front of an obstacle or an issue and it's staring you in the face, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to solve this and whatever else? That's learning. You're learning how to get through that. The path is through your path to where you want to get to is through your issues. So love them and love the journey.
Yeah, enjoy the journey, and that is culture building. That is trust
That's
building.
right.
It's relationship building.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the 80-year-old self is sort of a counter to that, or sort of the other side of that sword, which is, I would say to my 80-year-old self, hey, I'm in the process of becoming you, right? And I want to, even beyond you, I want to still be becoming. So what advice would you have for me? How do I become the best that I can be? So that's what I would say to my 80-year-old self. I would ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, the old question I used to ask is, "Hey, speak to your 21-year-old self or your 18-year-old self or whatever." And people, yeah, they always get some really interesting comments. But I've never seen or heard that going forward. But I love it, right? Because like in business, we talk about vision and where do you want to go, and the 10-year, kind of picture of what you're trying to build. Man, I've honestly never done that to myself. It's kind of cool to think about, honestly.
Well, here's a fun exercise you can take clients through, and yourself. It's a great self-discovery kind of exercise. So you say, okay, get a piece of paper, divide it in half, and on the left side, I want you to think of a scenario where you have just received $10 million wired into your account, no strings attached. What are you going to do? Okay, it's yours, free and clear, no strings, no requirements, no nothing. What do you do? List those things out. And
Personal and
then,
professional, if it's
yeah, personal and professional,
whatever,
and
yeah.
whatever else. I think people compartmentalize this a little bit too much, but that's another thread. All right, so then after a little bit of time and maybe a little bit of discussion about what people say they're going to do and whatever else, say, okay, now we're going to fast forward 3 weeks. You have 6 months to live. Same scenario. You got $10 million in your account, free and clear, unfettered, no requirements. Now what do you do with that money? 6 months to live. And then they list all that stuff out. And then I said, okay, now reconcile those. Because it changes what you do when you know your time is short. You start doing things that have much higher purpose and impact than when you think you've got all the time in the world.
All the time in the world, right? Yeah, that's cool.
That's a values reconciliation.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna have to do that sometime. My mind's already racing. Well, Byron, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, man. I certainly appreciate you carving out some
Well,
time
it's
from your
fun.
busy schedule to chat with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's always fun to have these kind of discussions. I'm a recovering philosophy major, and so I love to wax philosophic.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Partnernomics Show. Don't forget to subscribe to get the newest episodes at thepartnernomicsshow.com.